Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner. Cody, how are you on this fine Friday evening?
James, I'm doing all right. It's a Friday evening. Not a lot going on, James. Where I just moved from in West Virginia was getting hit with some of that hurricane. So I think I got out of there just in time. A bunch of people without power, businesses shut down. So I got out of there just in time back in Pennsylvania. James, how are you doing tonight?
Doing pretty good, man. That must mean it's coming up to us tomorrow then, right?
No, I think it actually kind of went out. I think it's going to miss us for the most part or hit us a little bit overnight. But I checked radar. It doesn't look like we're going to get hit a whole lot at all. So,
yeah. Wow. That's lucky for us.
Yeah, a little bit. A lot of people without power. A lot of people in Florida got flooding and stuff. So prayers to all them. Make sure they're safe. But it is a Friday evening. We got to talk Steelers football. We also got to talk some roster moves, some things like that, and the matchup against the Indianapolis Colts this week. James, going for 4-0. Let's see if we can do it, right?
Seems doable, buddy. I don't know.
Yeah, we're about to find out. Before we talk about the game against the Colts on Sunday, Corey Trice placed on IR with a hamstring injury. Unfortunate for him. He was actually having a decent year so far. He had that one interception in the back of the end zone that kind of sealed the game. Week 1 or week 2, I can't remember exactly which one.
Week 2, I believe.
I think you're right. So unfortunate for him, he won't be back for at least 4 weeks. Hopefully he can come back and be an integral part again. With that being said, James Pierre, a name we're very, very familiar with, was promoted to the 53 from the practice squad. James Pierre has spent all of his 5 years in the NFL with Pittsburgh, bouncing back and forth from practice squad, active roster, blah, blah, blah. But he has been listed as a Pittsburgh Steelers the entire time. He has 3 forced fumbles as a Pittsburgh Steeler, and then that 2 interceptions back in 2021 and 2022, one in each of those years. So excited to have him back on the 53.
Yeah, in addition to that, they made some other moves. No surprise, they brought in an offensive tackle for the practice squad, a man by the name of Calvin Anderson, who's got a little bit of a resume as a back of the roster guy, has some starting experience, a little bit of left tackle, a little bit of right tackle. So that'll be some depth there. I would expect that we're probably going to see an elevation for John LeClue again this week.
Yep.
And honestly, I'm very curious to hear updates on if Dylan Cook's close or not, right? He got put on the injured reserve on the list, able to come back later on in the season. And then we really haven't heard anything, which is not uncommon to not hear anything about these guys once they go on. Usually you hear of the window opening. Hopefully that's something that happens soon because these offensive linemen are dropping like flies. Last move, they did decide to cut tight end Matt Sokol and signed linebacker Marcus Haynes to the practice squad. Again, that is likely a depth move because of the Alex Highsmith injury.
Yep.
So with him expected to miss this upcoming game, you got to have some extra bodies out there, and you might even go as far as pulling Nick Herbig off of special teams so that he can focus on just defense and be fresh.
Yep. Yeah, and Marcus Haynes has been bounced around from a couple teams. He originally started with Denver, played for didn't play for the Texans, but was on the Texans roster, Browns roster, and now with us, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Calvin Anderson played with both Denver in his career and New England so far. So he has a very short career, 4 years. Again, I think he had 7 starts in the 2022 with the Denver Broncos, but after that, only 2 starts with New England last year. But again, that's quality time that he's gotten to experience NFL play. That is a good thing to have on the practice squad for sure. With that being said, Mason McCormick, is expected to start on Sunday. So we'll see what happens with that. I think I'm processing the start and how the O-line's going to process, and I'm just excited to see, because the Colts, and we're going to talk about their team a little bit, the Colts have, I feel, taken a downslide a little bit in their offensive or defensive front quality over the years. I remember fearing Dwight Freeney and, when those guys were there. I don't think they have that kind of stoutness on the defensive front anymore. And I'm excited to see what this, quite frankly, injured and beaten up offensive line for us can do against them. So,
yeah, and to your point, they've got some guys, but they all seem to be injured right now.
yep.
DeForest Buckner just went on the injured reserve for them recently. And then we're going to talk about some of their other injuries to some guys that are just not healthy enough to play this week. So Pittsburgh's not going to be going against all of their best defensive linemen. Mason McCormick is something that has not been announced by the team, but this is something that is being insinuated by Pittsburgh reporters, which basically means they're not allowed to say it because it's not been reported, but he's been practicing first team. It sounds like a good portion of the week, if not all of the week. So I'm excited for it because dude's a mauler and a little bit better pedigree, a little bit bigger, longer kind of guy than what we're getting out of Spencer Anderson. Spencer Anderson hasn't been bad.
No.
But I think if you're looking to see what you've got in the future, this is a great opportunity as Isaac Seumalo starts working his way back from his injury. Let's get Mason a couple games here and see what he can do. Because so far, so good from what I've seen on Mason McCormick. I remember the very first preseason game, I was skeptical. Second and third preseason game, he was awesome, and he got his feet wet last week a little bit and looked pretty good last week too. So I'm excited about that for sure. And let's get into this injury update, Cody. There's a ton going on both sides. Which would you prefer to cover, the Steelers side or the Colts side?
I'll cover the Steelers side, James.
Sounds good.
A lot of this is non-injury related. There's a large portion of this. I'm going to go over those guys first. The guys that are non-injury related either didn't practice on Wednesday or Thursday, and then they were fully participants today in practice and expected to play. Those guys being Najee Harris, also TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Larry Ogunjobi, Dante Jackson, Miles Killebrew, and Cordarrelle Patterson. All those guys were non-injury related, reported on the injury list that they were just resting. And then you have Russell Wilson still limited all week with the calf injury. You have Roman Wilson, who was fully participant all week with an ankle injury and should expect him to go. And then outside of that, Van Jefferson with an eye injury. Again, he got poked in the eye last week. We talked about that. Fully participated all week. I expect him to play. Deshaun Elliott, the safety with a quadricep injury, limited practice on Wednesday, then fully participated yesterday and today. Jaylen Warren with the knee injury did not participate all week. Expect him to be out. Alex Highsmith with the groin injury didn't participate all week. Expect him to be out. Isaac Seumalo with the pectoral injury, limited participation all week, doubtful to play. I'm just calling it out. He's not playing. And Michael Pruitt with the knee injury also listed as out, with not participating all week long.
Yeah, so some good news on some of these guys, right? So we at least see the progress with Roman Wilson being a full participant all week long. That's a big step in the right direction. 2 weeks ago, he had 1 day full. Last week, he had 2 days full. This week, full the whole time. So now it's just about the correct opportunity for him to get on the field. And then Seumalo was actually limited all week long, like you mentioned.
Yep.
This is also a step in the right direction because he didn't even get a limited participation last week. We saw some images of him going through some stretches, which was great. Now he's limited. Now we'll see what they do next week with him. Possibility of trying to get a little bit of full participant next week. We'll see. But it's exciting to see him moving in the right direction, as to some actually believe him to be the best offensive lineman on the team. So
yeah.
It would be nice to have him back, no doubt. Over to the Colts side of things. So first, big news, Kenny Moore, thought of by many to be the top nickel corner in the entire NFL, has a hip injury and didn't participate all week long. He is out for Sunday's game. The next guy on the list, cornerback Chris Lamons, was full on Friday. He didn't participate earlier in the week, so it sounds like they're kind of trying to rest him and then get him to go on the week side.
And he's listed as their backup nickel, so that's interesting.
Yeah, and he's listed as questionable, but I believe he's going to play due to the fact that Kenny Moore is out, and they're already down Juju Brents.
Yep.
So he's not going to be on this list because I think he already got moved to the injured reserve. Grant Stewart has a heel injury. He was a full participant on Friday, so I'd expect him to be good to go. Kwity Paye with a quadricep is listed as out. So as we were talking previously about this defensive line not being 100%, there's one of them. That's one of their top pass rushers in Kwity Paye. He is not healthy enough to play this game. Right tackle Braden Smith is listed as questionable and has been either actually a do not participate all week long with this injury. So they're trying to say, hey, he's going to be fine, he's going to play, but he didn't practice all week long. If this is Pittsburgh, he's not playing because you have to practice on Friday to play on Sunday.
Yep.
That's just a Mike Tomlin rule. Not
and you know what that does? That sets TJ Watt against a rookie, Matt Concaves from the Pittsburgh Panthers.
Oh my God, that's their backup right tackle.
That's their backup right tackle.
He was projected to be a guard due to lack of length, so that could be a real rough day for Matt there. So we'll see if that's the route they go, or if they've got something else up their sleeve that they're going to try and move out to that position. But they said they have a plan for TJ. Man,
it's going to be keeping the running back and the tight end to block.
My understanding is that they have a habit of using some of their tight ends exclusively as pass blockers. So I would expect there to be basically a sixth offensive lineman on that side most of the game to help with TJ. Next on their injury list is defensive end Tyquan Lewis. He has a calf and wrist injury going on. He's listed as questionable, and he was a do not participate on Friday, but limited on Thursday. So that is truly a questionable there. Last guy, Ryan Kelly, listed as questionable, did not participate on Friday with a neck injury, also didn't participate Thursday. So that's a real bad sign for him too. So we're talking starting center is very questionable. Starting right tackle is very questionable. This is going to really have some opportunities for both TJ Watt and the interior guys. Whether
and Nick Herbig, a little bit.
Yeah, well, Nick's not the only healthy guy.
Yeah.
He's got the healthy guy on the other side, the former first-round pick Bernard Raymond. So he's the only one that's going to have like a healthy situation. That and Cam, because Cam's got a healthy Quentin Nelson that he'll be going up against.
Yep. So very interesting injury report here. Did you go over Grant Stewart as well?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't remember if you said that or not. But now that we went over injuries, let's go ahead and talk about this Colts roster. We already talked about some of the guys that'll be out, but let's talk about the guys that will be playing. Quarterback on the offensive side of the ball. We do this every week. Anthony Richardson backed up by Joe Flacco. Anthony Richardson, TJ Watt's already talked about it. He's excited for the challenge of taking down such a big quarterback. Anthony Richardson is not it's not a Kyler Murray. It's not a skinny Lamar Jackson. Anything like that. He's 6'4", 244 pounds. He's a big dude. The running back, Jonathan Taylor, backed up by Trey Sermon. Jonathan Taylor listed as probably one of the top running backs in the league when he's healthy. He seems to be having a good year so far. Wide receivers, Josh Downs, Alec Pierce, and Adonai Mitchell are the guys starting. You also have Michael Pittman Jr. starting as well. Those are the top four guys. And then tight end room, Mo Alley Cox and Kylan Granson are listed as co-starters. You also have Drew Ogletree and Will Mallory, backups, tight ends there. Listen, I'm surprised that they got rid of Jelani Woods, and I'm happy we're not facing him because I feel like he would absolutely destroy us. So I'm just excited about that. Going over this offensive line, Bernard Raymond, the starting left tackle, left guard Quentin Nelson, center Ryan Kelly, obviously he's injured, questionable. They have two backups listed, Danny Pinter and Tanner Bertolini. I'm assuming Pinter would start. Don't quote me on that, but that's just my guess. Right guard is Will Fries, backed up by Dalton Tucker. And then the right tackle, Braden Smith, obviously we talked about him more than likely not playing. And Matt Goncaves being the rookie, listed as the backup right tackle. So going to be a very, very interesting offensive front, and maybe this defensive front can go eat a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And thus far in the season, Anthony Richardson has 6 interceptions already and is struggling with a very low completion percentage. I heard it was less than 50% at this point in the season.
Completion percentage, I believe you are looking at.
Yeah.
50, no, that's not completion percentage. They only have, they do. 36. It's 36%.
It can't be 36. That's not right.
It's 36. I'll double check it, but keep talking.
I would double check that. There's no way they'd still be playing them if it was that low. But I understand it's pretty.
Oh, it's 36
bad,
completions.
so.
Hang on.
Yeah, that's not. Yeah, That's
Hang
not
on. I am
playable. You
looking
don't
for
play a
it.
guy that's that bad. Do you have the number of completions? Because we can math, Cody.
Oh, we can math. It's right here. Passing. It's pulling up. Colts. He is looking at 49.3, so just under 50.
Yeah. So that was a lot of homework to say. Yeah, James is right on that.
I just wanted to know the number. I mean, he's ranked dead last in all the quarterbacks that have played so far. Yeah, not good.
Yeah, and another thing that is ranked dead last is their run defense, which we're going to talk about soon here. But lots of weapons on this offense if Anthony Richardson can get them the ball.
Yep.
Last year, Pittsburgh had a real tough time with stopping the run, and it was a big issue for Pittsburgh. Also, we didn't have a healthy Cam Hayward last year, and he missed half the season. When he was playing on a bad groin. So I think that'll be a big difference this year. I would expect them to run to their left a lot, trying to run behind Quentin Nelson and Bernard Raymond. That's the power of this offensive line, especially with the other guys banged up. So it's going to be a very important game for Cam Hayward to really hold his gap, which he's done well against Quentin Nelson when healthy in the past. And more importantly, an undersized Nick Herbig might really be tested on that left side there. So it might be one of those situations where if they're really pounding the rock, you might want to just stick to Marvin Leal out there for a little while and use Nick more for the pass rushing situations. Because the Marvin's 275 pounds versus the 240-ish of Nick Herbig could make a big difference in that run defense. So we'll see how this goes, but we're expecting them to see those tight ends helping big time on the right side against TJ Watt. Defensively for the Colts, they run a 4-3 defense with Kwity Paye listed as one of their starting defensive ends. With him ruled out, look for Laiatu Latu to get the start. That's the first round pick rookie there. Tyquan Lewis, the other defensive end, with Dayo Odembigo on the opposite, backing him up. Interior, we have Taven Bryant and Groven Stewart. So not the most stout defensive front in the world. Definitely keep an eye on Laiatu Latu. That's a very highly skilled pass rusher there.
Yep.
The off-ball linebackers, E.J. Speed, Zaire Franklin, and Jalen Carlisle's. This is a group that gave us real big problems last year.
Yep.
Speed was all over the place. So was Zaire Franklin. Zaire Franklin's already talking trash, saying he wants to get his hands on a terrible towel. That's typically a really, really bad move. So we'll see if he is bold enough to try to steal one from a fan, as we've seen opposing players do previously, or what happens there. Moving on to the secondary, outside corner Samuel Womack and Jalen Jones. The nickel cornerback, as we talked before, Kenny Moore is a slated starter with Chris Lammons behind him. Kenny Moore has been ruled out. Chris Lammons is on the injured list. They are real dinged up. Starting safeties, Julian Blackman and Nick Cross. So really an underwhelming group, honestly, in one that is not doing well stopping the run. I want to say they're 32nd in the league in run defense right now.
Yep.
So that's something that's got to be an opportunity for Pittsburgh. They're built for power run and running at teams. That's something they need to exploit in this game for sure. Do you want to cover these special teamers, Cody, or you want me to?
No, I got them. Let's talk about the special teams here. So obviously the punter and holder, Rigoberto Sanchez. Place kicker is Matt Gay. Long snapper, because they matter too. Just ask the Bengals. Luke Rhodes. And then you have dual kick returners listed, Anthony Gold and Dallas Flowers. And then Anthony Gold is also listed as the punt returner, backed up by Josh Downs, the wide receiver. Capable special teams guy. I'm not overly feared. I want to say one of these guys, I think Anthony Gold had a good kick return this year, but it wasn't anything crazy that I remember. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting thing. Fun fact here, James, real quick to go over this. The average time of drives in the league, Pittsburgh has the 5th longest average drive of 3 minutes and 17 seconds. The Indianapolis Colts have the shortest at 2 minutes and 5 seconds. So,
which goes hand in hand with a poor completion percentage
and the turnovers.
Right? Yeah. When you're turning it over nonstop, when you can't complete a pass, it's very tough to sustain drives, and you're constantly stopping the clock.
Yep.
So that's a rough one for them, no doubt. And that might even give a little insight as to this week's 3 keys to success. It's my turn to go first, Cody.
It is.
So
it is.
I'm going to take the honors on this. And as we always tell you, if you have your 3 keys to success, feel free to leave them in the comment section for us. And we'll talk about them on next week's show, especially if you nail them.
Yeah.
Then we're definitely going to talk about that stuff. So this week, my first key is 2+ interceptions. That is what Anthony Richardson is averaging on the season. I want to see the Steelers secondary and linebackers, maybe even TJ, you never know.
Nick Herbig?
Come away with 2+. Could be. I want to see 2+ interceptions from our defense. I think if we do that, gives us a really good chance at victory this week. My next key, kind of an odd one. I want to see 150 yards receiving plus out of the wide receiver group minus George Pickens. Minus George Pickens. So give me your Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, whatever. Combine all those dudes. I think that with the injuries the way they are on their secondary, that they're going to put their top guy on George Pickens, and everybody else should have pretty favorable matchups with all the injuries they've got going on. So we ought to be able to throw the ball all over the place and take advantage of it. They're probably going to try to double George, and that's going to leave these other guys in very winnable situations all game long. If he spreads the ball like he did last week, I think we're going to see some real serious success in the passing game. Yep. And then my final key to success, run the ball, baby. I want to see over 150 yards. I've been calling for it. They've been close. Yep. This is the week they cross 150 yards.
And this is as a team.
Rushing.
This is as a team.
As a team.
Okay.
As a team. And honestly, let's be real. Najee's going to get 80% of the workload,
especially with Jalen out.
Patterson.
Yep.
There's a possibility we see like Joe Ward elevated. That would be my guess because he's got some kick return ability too.
Yep.
And then you can stick him back there with Cordarrelle Patterson on the kickoff returns. But I would kind of expect someone to get elevated. So a running back in Leglue, that's my guess.
Yep. That's fair. You ready for mine?
Oh, I'm more than ready, buddy.
Okay. My first one is going to be different from the normal win the turnover battle. I want to force 3 turnovers. And the reason I say 3 is because every NFL team averages 10 drives per game. Right now, the Indianapolis Colts are turning over the ball on 19.4% of their drives. If they do 3 drives and get 3 turnovers on 10 drives, that'll be 30%. I want to up their percentage this week in turnovers. I want to up it. With that being said, sticking with the same defensive side of the ball, I want to see Pittsburgh sack the quarterback in the first quarter. I'm not going for specific goals as far as numbers. I want to see a sack in the first quarter. Last week, we didn't get our first sack until after halftime. And then we allowed -5 yards the rest of the game. I want to get to Anthony Richardson early and often and force him to play scared, force him to play fearing the pressure, fearing TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, Keanu Benton, Cam Hayward. I want him to get hit early and experience a sack so that he starts playing on edge and starts doing those 3 turnovers that I'm looking for. And then I'm going to switch over to the offensive side of the ball. I just want Justin Fields to continue growing. This is a very hard thing to track. I know that. But what I'm specifically looking for is the growth that we've seen in his passing charts. And we shared those on our social media recently. He went from not throwing the ball inside the numbers at all week 1 to sprinkling a few week 2. And then on week 3's passing chart was all over the field. I want to see that pattern continue. And I want his passing chart. If you want a number, I want to see at least 8 passes over the middle of the field inside the numbers. Well, that's something we can measure. So
8 passes between the numbers.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
James, it's time for score predictions. I was a little off last week, but that's okay.
I mean, I was off too because it was really lopsided and I had it being close.
Yeah.
On another show, I even predicted that Pittsburgh would lose because I was very concerned about the injury to Troy Fautanu.
Yep.
But it ended up that Broderick Jones held his own, man.
He did.
And not only did he hold his own, he pancaked Joey Bosa and knocked him out of the game very early so that they only had 1 elite pass rusher to deal with instead of 2.
Yep. James, you want me to share my score prediction first?
Do it, buddy. Give me yours.
I'm going to go Pittsburgh 31, and I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts 13.
31-13. I don't hate it, Cody. I really don't.
Yep.
I
have one of those touchdowns being defensive, if we're being specific.
All right. One defensive TD. I'm totally writing it down, man, because if you're right, you're getting credit for it.
Yeah.
If you're wrong, we just won't bring it up.
That's fine.
I am going to go 27-6.
Ooh.
I think the defense continues holding these other teams to very few points. Only 2 field goals in this game is all they're giving up. And I want to say we're looking at 3 touchdowns, 2 field goals. Boss for president, you know the routine.
Yeah. And let me guess to be more specific for you. You think they're going to drive late in the fourth and go for it on 4th down when they could have kicked another field goal, but they're not going to get it. Just being super specific here. But no, with that being said, if you guys have 3 keys to success, like James said, share them with us. If you guys have score predictions, share them with us as well. We'd love to talk about them on the show, especially if you guys hit it. If you guys hit it, we'll happily have you on the show and see where you get your wisdom from, because we got to talk about it if you're guessing the score exactly right. With that being said, we can't thank you guys enough for listening or watching if you're on YouTube. Don't forget to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, ring the bell. It's free. It don't cost you anything. And don't forget the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts. Make James over here very happy. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.
Steelers by